So some information you need before the video begins is that I'm going to be focusing on some of the more recent legal issues, like legislation and everything that has been targeting the LGBTQ+ community, namely the trans community. So I'm going to be talking about bathroom bills and the trans ban in the military. So if that's not something you want to hear about, or if it's something you're sick of hearing about, then watch something else. I don't know. If you knock my camera down, I swear. So there are people who are saying that the whole Trump's whole ban on transgender people in the military is what's finally getting liberal people to start caring about the troops. But I know plenty of people, including myself, who identify as liberal people who support people in the military, and who may not support certain conflicts that we're involved in, but we still respect and care about the actual troops and the people who are fighting for what they believe in. I just feel like it's, you know, it's not something, it's not a black and white issue, honestly. There are different points to be made for either side. For example, you know, there are plenty of people who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, trans people who are fighting, or gay or lesbian or whatever people who are fighting for, you know, everyone to have equal rights. They're now being stripped of their rights that they're fighting for, which doesn't make any sense to me. You're literally taking away their right to fight for their rights. I just don't get where you're coming from with that kind of thing. There are some people who have made decent points as well. My sister, for example, is a little in the gray area when it comes to this issue. What she told me when we were having this discussion is that she supports people who are trans and openly trans fighting in the military, as long as they're not in the middle of their transition, because you know, you get focused on your transition, which is a huge deal, and then you can't shift all of your focus directly to serving, protecting and serving, and, you know, just making sure that you're completely focused on what you're doing for the military. Whereas if you're completely pre everything that you want to do, or completely post everything that you want to do, and you can be completely focused on just protecting and serving, then she's completely supportive of you being in the military, which I guess I can kind of understand, but at the same time I feel like that extends to anyone in the military needing to be completely focused on what they're doing, because there are plenty of things that happen to cisgender people as well that could shift their focus away from what they're doing. Another thing that really concerns a lot of conservative people is that transgender people are more likely to be suicidal, and that they're afraid that if you're putting someone in the military, giving them access to all of these guns and everything, maybe they're gonna be suicidal, maybe they're gonna experience more trauma and that's gonna trigger something. I don't know where that idea is coming from, honestly, because it's not just trans people who are at that risk. Anyone in the military, cisgender, transgender, whatever, is, I think, twice as likely, or, yeah, 50% more likely to commit suicide than a civilian is. People also are saying that because gender dysphoria is still technically a diagnosable disorder, considered a mental disorder when it comes to joining the military, you can't join the military with a mental disorder. Another thing that people really care about is that the military pays for transitional treatments like hormones and surgeries and everything like that, and I can kind of understand why you feel like that's taking a lot of money away from the military, because those things are extremely expensive and this shit. Are you finished? So maybe there's some kind of middle ground to find here, like still cover gender therapy, maybe still cover the hormone treatments, because those are the less expensive parts of transitioning. And then the military pays people not a lot, but pays them anyway for serving, so like maybe take that and put it towards your surgeries. I don't know. That's what I would do. And not that I'm gonna join the military anytime soon, but well, especially not now. I don't get why everyone's making such a big deal out of, you know, trans people wanting to serve in the military, because if you want to serve, you should be allowed to serve, and you should be allowed to stand up for what you believe in, and you should be allowed to fight for your rights and other people's rights if that's what you want to do. But I just don't, I can't wrap my head around this. Guess who just spent 20 minutes looking for his phone because he couldn't find it anywhere and didn't record earlier, but now needs to finish recording a video, and so the lights changed, there's a dog in my lap and chewing on my hand. You need to stop. But anyway, okay, let's talk about bathroom bills. I want to talk about the people who are creating an issue out of nothing, because, big shocker, it's not trans people who are the issue. It's the people who are trying to convince society that allowing trans people to use the restroom they identify with is going to lead to, like, a higher rate in sexual assault in the restroom, which isn't true, because there has never been an issue, or there's never been a reported case of a man going into the restroom dressed as a woman in order to try to sexually assault or sexually harass women in the restroom. Ever. There's never been a case. But what's annoying to me is that all of these people are saying that this is a thing that they think can happen if we allowed trans women to go into the women's restroom, which, one, is a totally different scenario. Trans women are women. They're not men dressed as women. That's a totally different thing. So one, trans women are women, so it's not the same as saying that, like, a man is going to go into the restroom with malicious intent. And also, trans women are not going to go into the restroom with malicious intent. They just want to pee. And two, because there's never been a case of this before, the thing that's causing the issue now is that everyone who's saying, oh, well, what if guys just dress up and go into the women's restroom anyway, to prey on kids or women or whatever, you're now giving bad people those ideas. And the fact that you're trying to think like a criminal concerns me, because, you know, that those ideas have to stem from somewhere, and they didn't stem from history. You know, trans people already feel unsafe most of the time. They already feel unsafe going into restrooms, no matter what restroom it is. Most of the time, trans people already feel unsafe going into restrooms in public restrooms, because for example, for trans guys, it feels like if you're going to the guys' restroom, you're gonna get beat up or something like that because you don't present masculine enough. But if you go into the women's restroom, you're presenting too masculine. They're either gonna yell at you, they're gonna throw homophobic slurs at you, you know, you don't know, or transphobic slurs. It just depends on how you are perceived. And the same thing can go for women. Trans women going into the men's restroom are gonna get beat up because they're, even if they're presenting feminine, guys are gonna, like, not see it that way. Or women are gonna not see it that way in the women's restroom. Who knows what's gonna happen? It's a terrifying concept. And then there's the matter of, like, gender non-conforming people, but non-binary people. But that's a totally different issue that I don't want to get too far into. But basically, the concept of gender-neutral restrooms is actually a really good thing. because it's just a good place for everyone to feel safer. And, you know, if you're going to the restroom, can you just, like, focus on your own business? That's all you need to do. Why is that such a difficult concept for people to understand? Big thing is that people just feel, like, really uncomfortable around trans people in the restroom, but let me tell you, trans people already feel uncomfortable in a public restroom. More uncomfortable than anybody else who's in there. Something a lot of people don't realize is that trans people are more likely to suffer from UTIs because they're afraid to go into public restrooms when they're out for 8+ hours a day if they're in school or at work, or even just out doing things in their day-to-day life that they have to do or just want to do. People are more likely to hold it for a really long period of time if they don't feel, people are gonna... Trans people don't feel comfortable going into restrooms a lot of the time, and so they'll hold it, and that means that it's doing a lot of damage to that part of their body, which causes a higher rate of UTIs in the trans community, which is a really big issue. If you're cisgender and you're an ally and you feel like you want to do something to help, I highly recommend just Googling "I'll go with you" buttons and getting one or some for people you know who are also allies. And if you wear it or put it on your bag or your shirt or whatever whenever you're just out and about doing things, it lets trans people know that you are a safe person to talk to and that you're someone that they can ask to go with them into the restroom if they feel like they might be in danger if they went alone. I think they were like $2, maybe one for one, and then you can get them in like packages too. I don't remember, we got them for GSA in high school. This is actually my friend's letting me borrow it for the video, so thank you to him. That's just like a really big thing. And then whether you're cis or trans or however you identify, another thing that you can do that's really important is to get involved with your local politics, especially things that will affect the lives of many, many people, like the bathroom bill.